I think we can get started with the webinar. Good morning. My name is Andrea, and today I will present the webinar Implementing an Action-Based Sales Strategy. You probably already seen me if you have connected to one of our webinars or for admins, both in English and Spanish. I am the key account manager for Latin America here at noCRM. I'm located in Bogota, Colombia. And for those of you who don't know, noCRM, it's a prospecting and lead management tool. The idea or the philosophy behind noCRM is that we understand that salespeople are not using classic CRMs because selling is not about filling in endless amount of information, more and more data each and every time. And we understand that sales is a process in which we turn a prospect to a lead and then hopefully to a customer. Our goal is to help you optimize this process. And we do that by creating a tool that has been entirely focused on how we manage the leads, the sales activities that make sense for your team. And we have already a base of around 11,000 users that are using the platform in more than 80 countries around the world. The platform is available already in 6 languages, including English, Spanish, French, Italian, and German. And we have, of those 11,000 users, more than 3,000 are sales managers that have believed in our tool. And together today, my objective is to be able to share my experience, our experience as a sales team, and give you some advice. Of course, spoiler alert, there is no miracle recipe to manage your team correctly, the way that you're seeing the sales process. It's a matter of working together, analyzing, and having the ability to improve constantly. Okay, for those of you who just joined the presentation, please, I've just launched a poll on Zoom. If you can fill that out for me, that would be great. I would love to hear where you're listening from. I am also going to share my personal Calendly. If you want to have a meeting with me, maybe give me some feedback on the content of today, or if you have some questions about our system, I'm more than happy to meet with you. The methodology that I'm going to be presenting today, it's inspired by the NFL trainer Bill Walsh, and it's called activity-based selling. And the content that you will be seeing today was created by Sebastian Blanc, who is the CEO of Longwall. And also it's a combination of what we've learned with sales directors that work with us and our own experience when we were creating and having the conception of noCRM. So this is the agenda that we will be covering today. First, we're going to address the problem, which is achieving the defined objectives of your sales team. Then I'm going to be covering major concepts of the methodology itself. I'm going to distinguish between monetary versus action-based objectives on noCRM and generally for your sales team, and how you can analyze and improve your sales process in accordance to those objectives. And of course, we will be showing how noCRM can help you, assisting you in improving the objectives and reaching the objectives that you set for yourself and your team. Of course, at the end of my presentation, just as I always do, we're going to have some time for Q&A. If you have questions throughout, just make sure to write them in the Q&A section of Zoom, and I will have some time to answer them towards the end. Now, what is the problem that we're going to talk about today? Not the problem, but maybe like the main objective that many of the sales teams present each and every year, or even quarterly. We want to reach a specific amount of money in sales. That's what everybody wants. We want growth, right? We cannot, however, ask a salesperson to just go ahead and invoice 1 million euros without giving them any chance or any tools to achieve that amount of money. Why? Because of course, if they knew how to do it, and I'm not trying to sound like a Debbie Downer or just like an inspirational speaker today, they wouldn't be working there with you. You're not explaining what you have to do to be able to achieve that 1 million euros or $1 million that you want to achieve within your company. And it's not their job, meaning you're not giving them the resources, or you're not working with them as a team in order for them to achieve this amount of money. But that doesn't mean that you cannot reach that 1 million euros or $1 million. You still want to be able to reach them. The idea of this webinar is helping you to break that objective down and understanding how you can manage the company's growth, but make it make sense for your team and make it make sense for yourself. So the first thing that we should talk about is hiring that first sales manager. What do we need to do? What is our vision? How we can transmit that passion that we have as founders to an employee? We have to make this distinction because, of course, it's not the same when you're the founder of a company, when you know your product from A through C, you understand your vision and you understand what you want to transmit, and having an employee be able or be willing to convey that vision to a customer. Believing it's enough just to tell your employer how to handle the sale, it's also not enough. And we, in our company and in my time at noCRM, we have understood that bonus motivation, it's too easy when it comes to encouraging our salespeople to finish that sale. A salesperson is a striker first and foremost, is the person that is talking to your customers day in and day out. They are understanding the needs of the customers. They're getting to know the product on different situations. They're getting to know the service under different circumstances. They're willing to grab that knowledge and still present a value proposition to the client. So you have to find your product and market fit and then build your sales process from that point on. Remember, we're working as a team. It's not a lone wolf. We have that mentality of having the salesperson only as a striker, but we don't understand that a striker is not the person that is just working on their own at the forefront and it's ignoring everything and everyone, what everyone has to say behind them. No, we as a team have to support our salespeople and encourage them to share what they're learning at the forefront with us so that we can improve in creating a better product and creating a better pitch, a market fit to improve on sales. So now let's break the methodology. We understood the objective that we have. We understood that we have a sales team that we have to train, that we have to convey our passion to. But what does that have to do at all with the NFL? So let me tell you a little bit who Bill Walsh was. He was the trainer of the 49ers. And the mission that he had was that they had to win the Super Bowl. I'm not very familiar with American football, but I do understand it's fairly difficult to win a Super Bowl. And the way that he did it is that he broke that target. He broke that main objective in many different achievable things that the team could focus on doing, and the score will eventually take care of itself. So he broke that main goal of being able to win the Super Bowl into smaller goals, achievable goals, and measurable goals for the team to achieve. So an example, what example would be within football? So they would have to run X amount of meters or yards. They would have to transform the main objective into micro objectives, covering for the team, making sure that they were communicating properly. And he had to implement a strategy that was able to review itself and improve at every stage in order for the main objective, which was to have a higher score to show towards the end. That was the main objective. So how can we apply this conception within our sales process in our own companies? So first we have to have an analytical perspective on the entire process. And we have to divide this into two main frames. The first one being marketing. On the marketing side, what is my target? What is the sector, the size of the company that I'm trying to get in touch with, their turnover, who is the person that I'm looking to speak with, how I should be speaking to this person, what message should I be able to convey to get them to sit with our salespeople. And then on the sales front, once we're having this qualified SQLs, what activities, what actions do I need to take into account in order to close those leads and classify those leads properly, having the qualify process be done correctly. So it's a matter of reverse engineering, transforming sales into action. So not viewing the end product just as a number, the $1 million, 1 million euros that I want to achieve, but understanding that sales is a process, and I am breaking that process into very poignant, understandable, manageable steps so that I can understand how my sales team is doing, what type of activities they're carrying, and where am I missing the point or missing the mark so that I can enter that specific step and transform it in the process, right? We're not robots. So let's start from the result. As I mentioned time and time again throughout the presentation, our main target is 1 million in turnover. That would mean that we would need to have at least 20 customers to bring around 50,000 euros per customer. And in order to achieve that one customer that can bill 50,000 euros, we would need to have one client. To achieve that client, we would have to present 3 proposals. To be able to get to the stage where we're presenting these proposals, we would have to have around 4 meetings. And in order to achieve that first meeting, we would have to be calling at least 6 SQLs, or making 6 calls to 2 SQLs. And in order to achieve even 1 SQL, 1 sales qualified leads, we would need to be making around 60 calls to 20 prospects. So as you can see, this is a funnel. This is a pipeline, and we're starting from the top down in order to be able to get to that specific customer that's gonna close our sale. We have to do lots of activities to be able to do this properly. Now, how can we analyze this process? The advantage of noCRM is that at every stage, you have the chance to evaluate how your sales team is doing. So first and foremost, you have the pipeline within the software that you're using. Hopefully that would be noCRM. And we would have a team that has adopted the software properly. They're seeing the activities that they have planned for themselves. They have the simplicity of creating a lead, and they're able to understand the next step that it's coming because they're not relying on human paper and pen. They're relying on a platform that is going to notify them each and every time they have to do an activity. And we're trying to abolish the mechanical or even, I would say, dated method of having everything written down and not being able to be accountable to yourself and to your managers. We have a CRM, we have implemented our sales process, and we're able to visualize each and everything that we have to do. And we have to define that stages of the process itself. So if we're a company that's big on the prospecting activities, we would have to define a process for qualifying them, understanding the needs of our clients, understanding when we are facing a qualified lead. And once we transform that prospect into a qualified lead, understanding how our SDRs are going to manage that lead towards closing. And we can do that by defining the stages of the process and defining the activities our salespeople are going to be handling, right? And also within that sales process, we understand that salespeople are not static. They're always doing something, and they always should be registering the activities that they're doing to push towards closing. And within noCRM, we have the availability of creating these activities that are easy to create, to program, and essential for statistics. Because we understand that salespeople are always targeting their leads and are always registering some type of activity within noCRM. Now, how can we analyze the results of the implementation of the sales process within noCRM? So thankfully, on noCRM, we have several statistics that are going to help you understand whether the process that you've implemented is well implemented or not. The first one that I would like to suggest today would be the pipeline performance. Here in this specific statistic available on noCRM, we can understand on which stage of our pipeline we are losing leads. And we can filter this statistic by salesperson. We can understand how many leads are reaching the final step of our pipeline and how many of them are resulting in closing those leads, and what percentage of leads we're losing per stage. This can help us evaluate the quality of leads that we're filtering throughout the process. And this can help you also understand how to better present a proposal to prospective customers. Be it if you're offering a product, if you're offering a service, it can help you test back and forth what is the best way to propose a sale to a customer. Now, another tool that's available within noCRM is the team's activities. When you're logging activities and results on noCRM, you're creating statistics that are going to help you see the volume of activities required, not only to create a lead, but also to handle that lead and eventually to be able to close it. So here you'll understand, okay, in order to close around 10 leads, I'm gonna have to do at least 30 to 50 calls overall per month, per week. You're going to be able to analyze the performance of each one of the users within your account. And you're going to be able to see the time it takes for you to transform that prospect or that lead finally into a customer. Now, all that is pretty great, but having things that you want to measure makes no sense if you don't frame that possibility within set objectives, right? So we understand that we have an objective to achieve, which is $1 million, the million euros, but how can we break that into metrics that make sense for our teams and that make sense eventually when we're looking at the statistics that I just mentioned. So just having the statistics on their own, just having the process on their own, it doesn't work if it's not framed within manageable KPIs so that the team can understand where they're gearing towards, right? So if we understand how many actions we need in order to achieve that billing target, we can transform that into an objective that is measurable within a reasonable amount of time, and you can transform it into weekly or monthly activities. So we have two indicators on noCRM that you can create in the Dream Team editions. The first one would be lagging indicators, which talk about business volume, the amount of customers that we're creating, that we're obtaining, and the short-term metrics, which talk more about the number of activities that we're creating. That would be the number of meetings, the verbal agreements that we have with our customers, the meetings that are organized versus the ones that actually took place, the amount of calls. We're talking more about activities. And now we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And when we talk about 1 million euros in turnover per year, we are able to understand that in a week, that would mean having 12 qualification calls, at least 4 meetings with our customers, and at least being able to present one proposal. So at the end, what would be the advantage of having all of the things that I discussed right now? You would be able to have a clear path for salespeople. We're creating a replicable process that you can review time and time again and improve upon application. You can have a clearer view of the efficiency of your team, and you can anticipate the needs that they have. And at the end, you can improve on the process time and time again. And you can create new pipelines if that's needed. You can create new activities, or you can propose a different way to work within your team so that everyone understands their place and everyone is gearing towards the objective of the turnover that you want. Now, the previous objectives that I mentioned before, you can create in the Dream Team Edition within noCRM. And as you can see here, I've created objectives that are for the semester and objectives that are for the week. You can see the calls, the qualifying calls, the 4 meetings that we talked about, and 1 meeting per week with a proposition sent for a prospective lead. And you can follow up on these objectives. You can set objectives for the whole team, or you can set objectives for specific salespeople, depending on their level, depending on their seniority. If you understand that, for example, Sebastian is doing way better than Andrea, and he can gear towards having more calls at the end of the week, or even be able to do at least 2 proposals per week, you can push them to achieve those objectives. And it would be much more achievable than just setting down a number that they should have at the end of the week and not providing them with tools or activities that they can do in order to achieve that number. Because we know it's more likely for us to close a sale when we are actually communicating with our customers than versus just having the number at the end of the rainbow and not having any clear path to achieve that number, right? As I mentioned before, we are improving upon the process. This is the attacker of the French football team. I did not change this because I just wanted to convey that the salesperson is the forefront of our company, is the person that is always in contact with our client, is the person that is bringing us feedback on the processes and on the way that we are presenting our product or service in marketing and in other areas of our company. And it's the person that is going to help us improve on our process overall. But that doesn't mean that they're working on their own. The attacker has a team behind that is going to pass them the ball, that is going to provide them with the samples of the product or service, that is going to provide them with feedback, with support in case you're selling a SaaS solution like I am doing right now. And for every euro that you're spending on your salesperson, it's a euro that you should be backing up on the sales infrastructure and supporting everything that goes behind that final sale, that final invoicing that your forerunner is doing in your team. Now, just to summarize, I would like to hear your feedback right now. I opened a different poll just to understand how you liked the talk that I had for today. 3 main pillars for creating a great team would be to, first and foremost, rely on technological tools that I would add are useful for your team. So we don't want CRMs that are just gonna have us entering endless amount of information. We have to look for a tool that is gonna be useful. You might think that is redundant. But believe me, when I'm talking to sales teams, they're just tired of seeing tools available or automations on the market that are not doing anything for what they actually need to be doing. So just evaluate what essentially is that you need to improve on your sales team, and evaluate what is actually creating revenue for you, and build those tools into the day-to-day usage of your team. And that might look very different for very different industries, but I would say definitely go for a tool that can help you manage your leads. Definitely go, if you're managing marketing, something that can create an automation, maybe a voice IP software, and try to create an environment that helps your team just push more activities instead of spending on these hours and just making the manager happy. Get support from your marketing team. Remember, you are not working against each other in the sales team versus the marketing team. We're working together, and we can help each other improve argumentation, manage those objections that we see on a day-to-day basis, and create better marketing content for the product or service that we're offering. And also training, interact with your team, make sure that you're prevailing on feedback, that you're able to have an open door policy and understand what your team is looking for and what they need. And just something that a manager once told me, selling is repeating the same thing a million times and making it sound as if it's the very first time that you're saying it. Now, we talked about process segmentation. We talk about implementing and measuring system objectives that are clear for our team. The last thing that I would like to underline would be having the chance of improvement upon that system that you've implemented. And that is best done by having a process that it's created stage by stage. Because it means that you can break down the process and you can go back to it and evaluate it constantly. And that's it for me right now. I would love to know if you have any questions. I've shared my personal Calendly link on the chat. I would love to hear your feedback. I don't know if there's any questions. You can raise your hand and I can open your mic for you. Let me know what you thought of today. Well, Eric, Adam, I know we've spoken on support before. Let me know if you have any questions. Eric, yeah, let me know.
Hi there. Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Oh, great. Yeah, so I love noCRM. I've been using it for a few months. Thank you for onboarding me last year. If this is the appropriate forum to do this in, it would be great to better understand how those original leads that are set up can be put into a flow where the follow-ups don't all bunch up on the next day or the week you're working it. It feels like the default is the next day when you have to push it out a bit. And I think what I'm trying to understand is what the best practice is with managing, hundreds of leads that you can't possibly follow up on one day. So how do you, create a system for that?
Yeah, let me share my screen. Absolutely. Yeah, here's the pipeline that you can see. I would say that the best practice would be to convey your expectations first and foremost to your team. So sometimes it makes sense to shoot that email or make that follow-up on the very next day, depending on the product or service that you're managing. But some other times it's just best to follow up. For example, if you and I were to have a meeting, Eric, when you were first onboarding on noCRM, as soon as we hung up on the meeting, I think my main objective would have been to shoot you an email immediately, and then program the next follow-up, I would say, for anywhere within 3 or 4 days, or maybe even a week, depending on how long your trial was with noCRM. So I'm talking specifically about the industry that I know, which is software as service. I would have probably, if you had a 1-month trial, I would have pushed my follow-up a little bit further down the line. But if I know that you only have 15 days, I would have made sure that I'm following up a couple of days later, just to make sure that you read my email, just to make sure maybe making you a call, or maybe texting you on WhatsApp, depending on the interaction that we have. I, as a sales manager, have control over my sales process, but I also understand the expectations from my management when I am following up with a lead, right? So long story short, the best practices would be a consensus with what you are expecting and an understanding of what makes sense for the service or product that you're handling. I can give you another example. I work with a lot of companies from manufacturing backgrounds in Latin America, and for them, a call that it's not promptly done even 2 days later can mean losing business, real business. So it really depends on the industry that you're coming from, the expectations that you have, and of course the workflow that you're handling. You tell me that you can manage 100 of contacts a week or 100 leads a week. Maybe you can also evaluate the way that you're understanding a lead. Okay, so on noCRM, we want to understand that we're handling leads that have been appropriately qualified on our pipeline, and we're not giving our salespeople thousands of leads each and every day to handle, because it's humanly not possible. That's why I always encourage my customers to maybe think of first creating a prospecting activity and then pushing those prospects into leads. But once again, it really depends on the industry that you're coming from and the product that you're trying to sell. I don't know if that answers your question.
That helps a lot. Thank you. That's great. And I think that makes a lot of sense. The other piece is on the follow-up. I know the standby versus schedule. If you could distinguish between those two things, and when you hit the button to reschedule it, it looks like if you try to do it on the same day, it wants a time. So I think of standby as a day or more, and I think of reminder as same day, but I might be wrong about that.
No, I think, for example, this shouldn't happen, right? So when we have an activity to plan for today, we should complete the activity for that day. And as soon as we complete the activity, I, as a sales manager, have the ownership of my leads, and I can decide when would be the best time to handle this customer. So there are two ways actually that you can do this. If you have connected your calendar to noCRM, you can create a reminder, an additional reminder on your calendar just by adding the time and the duration. So let's say we can even propose something for today. Let's say that I forgot to handle this in the morning, but I would really like to be able to have a call with this customer after we have finished our webinar, for example. So I have connected my calendar to noCRM. I set a time, I set an amount of time that I'm going to devote to this activity, and I plan the activity. And this is going to get me a reminder for today. So a standby doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not going to be handling this lead today. Standby means that I'm not going to be handling this lead right now, whatever that may look on your sales process and on the way that you're handling your lead. Okay. It depends heavily on the process that you're taking into account and how you're organizing your day, how you best like to visualize the leads on noCRM, because you're also going to get a reminder on your email, and you're going to get a reminder on your calendar, depending how you have set your notifications on noCRM. I personally, and I always talk about this when I'm handling the webinar for admins on Tuesdays in English, I like to see my pipeline when I'm handling the to-do leads that I have for the day. I visualize it on the extended mode. Why? Because it makes sense for me. I have quick overview of the information on the contact. I have a quick overview of the activities that I've done before. If I've left any comments for myself, or if, for example, if my manager Santiago has left any comments for me, I can quickly visualize that and I can handle the lead immediately. Okay. but it really depends on how you're targeting the work that you're doing every day, Eric. I don't know if that answers your question or if you have any questions.
Yeah, that's helpful too. I think if you could open up the lead again where you schedule it. It's the to do and standby to me are sort of one and the same, and it almost looks like it's set up so that you could see these things in separate places in noCRM, but maybe just understanding the distinctive characteristics of a to do versus a standby, or are they the same thing?
I would say it's just, we call it within noCRM the status loop, because it's going to loop for you when you're handling a lead. It's going to go back and forth. So it's essentially the same thing, because you either have the lead on standby or you have the lead on to do. When you have a lead on to do, it means that you have an activity planned for today. And when you've planned an activity for a specific time during the day, you're going to get a specific notification here as well. Hey, you have planned an activity for this time. Don't forget that you've planned a call, that you've planned a meeting, whatever it is that you plan, you're going to get notifications on the system. The idea within noCRM about having this status loop is just not having a bunch of leads on standby, or just not having a bunch of the leads on to do. It's given back the power for the salesperson to organize their own workflow. So I see my workday, and I can tell you from personal experience, during the mornings, I'm handling the leads that I planned for the day. On that day, the activities that I plan. So for example, an email, something very specific, I usually handle it during the mornings. And then towards the afternoon, I turn back on my prospecting activities. So I'm discovering new customers or trying to reach out to prospective customers from different walks of life. For example, from my webinar that I do every Wednesday, every Tuesday, I want to make sure that you're using the account properly. And I devote time to making phone calls, making sure that they're using the platform properly. It depends on the work, the way that you have planned for yourself, your workday, and when is the best time for you to attend those prospective customers. If you, for example, I'm handling all the time clients from Latin America, I know that the best time to call is not during the morning. I just completely know it. So I plan my standby reminders for the afternoon, because it's the time after lunch, people are a little bit more relaxed. They're less reluctant to hang up the phone on me, and we can have a relaxed conversation in which I'm qualifying and gathering information for my lead. But it makes sense to do that in the afternoon versus the morning. But it changes once again, and I don't want to make it sound that I don't want to give you advice, but of course it changes on the perspective that you have in your own sales process and the service or product that you may be offering.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I didn't realize the that little alert bell on the upper right that was associated with to-dos for today that have a time associated with them. That's really helpful.
Yeah. Well, I think that I have another question from Mauricio. Do you think it's good to separate the pipeline into two, one for cold prospecting and the other one more advanced stages of the lead? Mauricio, I think I just answered the question for you. I think it's better to handle cold prospects, in my personal opinion, on the prospecting section of noCRM. Why? Because you don't want salespeople having 1,000 leads that you're calling in the prospecting stage of your pipeline and having them within a pipeline when you haven't even identified a business opportunity with them. So I would create them in lists, just as I have here. And as you can see, I have many of them are already within my pipeline. I can filter them by roles that I have yet to qualify. And on noCRM, an advantage that I would like to share is that you can create your own prospecting script. So make sure that you can create a qualifying script that encompasses all of the main questions that you have for your client. So you want to understand the role of the person that you're speaking with. You want to understand what are their pain points, maybe the timing estimation to acquire the service or the product that you're working with. You can create this on your own. And only once you've determined that they are a good prospect, only then create them as a lead on noCRM, because then you are attributing work that is qualified for your salespeople, and you're not setting them up to fail. You're giving them qualified leads that they're able to handle in a better way. I don't know if that answers your question, Mauricio. Can you move a lead to a prospect list if they didn't start at a prospect list? No, the short answer is no. So many of the leads that I have here come from the prospective list that I've created. So for example, if I made a mistake and I created this lead by mistake, I can just delete it and it's gonna go back to the prospecting list where it came from, okay? But if it didn't come from a prospecting list, it's just gonna be deleted from the system and it's gonna end up in our trash bin on noCRM. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that you necessarily have to have a prospecting list to work with noCRM. It's just the way that we visualize the sales process, and it's the way that we understand is the best practice to handle leads within noCRM. If your sales process looks a little bit different, by all means, you can add even a stage here that is called not qualified and just handle prospects in that stage. But as of best practices, I would always suggest handling prospects on prospecting lists on noCRM, okay? Great, Mauricio. Any other questions? Anything else that you'd like to mention, comment, let me know. Well, it seems that we don't have any more questions. Thank you everyone for joining. Let me assure you that you will receive a copy of the recording in about 1 hour after we have finished. Once again, my name is Andrea. I am a key account manager on noCRM. Thank you so much. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Ryan, Santiago, Mauricio, Eric, thank you so much for joining. Bye-bye.